Do you have a home-based business, or are you thinking about starting a home-based business? Well, if you are, there are disadvantages. There are things you need to know about to avoid to make sure that you can successfully run that business. So today we're going to talk about those things. What you need to know to avoid problems with running a home-based business, how you get funding for a home-based business, how you set up and structure your home-based business where it makes you look legitimate and credible, how to avoid issues with taxation, with other things, with violations of local ordinances, and all types of other things that can sneak up and bite you in the butt. So today, at the end of this training, you're going to know how to set up your home-based business the right way and avoid a lot of these pitfalls. So a lot of advantages, obviously, in working from home. Obviously, ease is one of them, right? No commute, saves you the time from commuting back and forth, gives you the ability to work even more and longer hours because you can easily pop into your home-based business. So a lot of advantages, for running a home-based business. Credit Suite, we're completely home-based, and we used to have 2 offices, and we've been able to work virtually, especially since COVID, and do so successfully. So there's a lot of advantages along the way that we've discovered, but at the same time, there's a lot of things to consider. There's a lot of considerations. There's a lot of disadvantages. There's a lot of things to look out for so you make sure that you're set up the right way. First of all, is your home-based business conducive to producing work? You've got to kind of set some boundaries. So it's interesting because I worked from home since my kids were born. And so I remember setting boundaries that when my door is closed, they're not allowed to come in. Even now, my kids can peek in, and I have hand signals literally for them of what's going on and whether or not they need to give me time or I can talk to them right then and there. So again, you kind of set up a home-based business work environment where you have the piece that you need and free from distractions as well. So like I said, in my world, I can simply shut the door. Anybody out there knows that I'm working. And if they really need me, then there's a process they can follow of texting or peeking their head in, and through hand signals, I can tell them how long I'm going to be before I can get to what they need. And then if it's something urgent, they know what to do to tell me it's something urgent at that point. So you've got to make sure that you've got an environment that's set up. You've got to make sure that you set up boundaries. You make sure that you have a work environment that's conducive to it. My office is closed here. It's not in a place where people could just pop their heads in easily, or be able to have a bunch of traffic running around me that creates all different types of distractions. The other consideration is that you may not be allowed to run your business from home, and it's things you have to think about. What are the requirements in your industry? What are the requirements in your county? There might be zoning requirements. Certain agencies like the health department, the FDA, have guidelines related to running certain types of businesses from home. So, those are things to keep in mind. Maybe you're starting a catering business from your home. Well, there are things with the health department and FDA that you have to do in order for that to actually be acceptable. There are other industries like credit repair in Georgia. I'm pretty sure you have to physically have an actual retail or an office location to be able to run your business. You can't have just a home-based business. You have to actually do this in a way where you have a physical retail location. So you've got to look at this. Are there restrictions from running a home-based business, whether it be in your county, whether it be in your state, whether it be in your industry? What other things might you need to actually do to make sure that you have your business set up and that you've complied with the ordinances, the laws, and the restrictions in your industry? Something else to think about is it can be a lot harder to get business funding. Okay, so when you're using a home address as a number as your business address, well, then it just doesn't make you look really legitimate and credible. I'm not saying that it's not. Like I said, Credit Suite's an 8-figure business. We run it from home. So it absolutely can have a very credible business running from home. But from a lender and credit issuer's perspective, they just don't really look at home addresses as business addresses as being a real legitimate, credible way of setting up and structuring your business. Okay, so you got to take these things into account because these are all considerations when you're setting it up. Now, you want to use your personal contact information. You don't want to use your personal contact information as your business contact information either. Okay, one major issue that ties up your business with your personal credit. So if you're running a home-based business, it becomes more important than ever that you really separate yourself from the business. You have a separate entity, not a sole proprietorship, where you are the business. You have a separate business address where you're separating your business and personal credit profile. The more the working from home makes it more of a requirement for you to create this separation between your personal and your business email address, your business website, all those type of things. You need to really set up your fundability the right way to be able to separate yourself. So why does that matter? Well, the problem is that if not, you are personally guaranteeing, you're personally signing for a lot of things in your business. The problem is that it prevents you from establishing a separate business credit profile if you do this the wrong way, if you're using a home-based address in a lot of cases, which in turn makes it hard to separate those business credit scores if your business to ever stand on its own to be able to get funding. Now, using your personal contact information as your business contact information, that's a big no-no as well. So even though you're working from home, you don't want to use your mobile phone as your home phone or as your business phone. You use your home phone as your business phone number. The work or your home address is your business address. Even home-based businesses need funding for things like supplies, inventory, equipment, even working capital. So you're going to need money to run your business, and you got to make sure that you set up the business the right way so you can get funding. Again, even if it's a home-based business. So home-based businesses are already seen as particularly fundable by lenders. So again, you have a disadvantage because a lot of lenders don't even want to fund home-based businesses. So if you're using a home address on an application for a Walmart corporate credit card, Walmart won't approve you for that corporate credit card. They don't like home addresses being used. And in most cases, work from home businesses, funding has to be done with a lot of cases with personal loans. You got to go to Lending Club and get personal loans or personal financing if you set it up the wrong way. But you don't want to do that. You want to try to stay away from personal guarantees. You want to build your business credit so you can then come in and be able to qualify for funding even in a home-based business environment. Without a business address, you just can't establish a separate personal credit profile the right way. And so it's something to think about. Even if you're working from home, you really want to come in, you want to establish a business address, even if it's a virtual address, because what that allows you to do is properly create a business credit profile for your business, separate your consumer and commercial credit, build business credit scores, and then use that business credit to start getting all kinds of credit, vendor credit cards. You want to get high limit credit cards with almost all major retailers, Walmart, Amazon, Staples, Sam's Club, Costco. You want to get fleet credit to fuel vehicles, repair, maintain vehicles you're using for business. You want to get Visa card, MasterCard, even auto financing you want to get as well. Look, there's a lot of benefits here. So I just literally bought a car 3 weeks ago and I bought it in my LLC's name. So, and there's a lot of benefits from that, including write-offs of the interest, write-off of the payments, including tax benefits, depending on where the LLC is actually set up. So there's just a lot of benefits here when you're coming in, you're building business credit, and it gives you the ability to do that, to start purchasing vehicles even in your business name, as well as getting all other kind of credit. And you want to really stay away from personal credit to fund a business, because a lot of home-based businesses fall into this trap as well, where there's a lot of reasons that you want to stay away from this, because first of all, your personal credit scores suffer. 30% of your consumer credit scores are utilization, which means if you're using personal credit cards to fund a business, which is not what they were intended to do, then the problem is you kill your personal credit scores. Then you could use those personal credit scores to qualify for all kinds of credit lines and loans, but the minute you lower them, you can't use them for those things. So you really got to stay away from using personal credit to try to fund a business. And it happens, this is the biggest mistake I see entrepreneurs make. I mean, of all the mistakes I see, this is the biggest. Because what happens is we start a business, we say, oh, we're only going to need $5,000 to get this business off the ground, and we should start making money in 3 months. And when I found in business, 2 hard, fast rules is that it always takes considerably more time and money than you think it's going to. So we have a rule here that with our best estimate of cost of something, we double it. The best timeline that we think we can get something done, we double it. And that's our expectation. A lot of new businesses don't know that. So they think you're going to start a business with $5,000. You think you're going to make money in 3 months. Then all of a sudden it costs you $10,000. And 3 months later, you're still not making any money. And all of a sudden you've maxed out your credit cards, and it could take you 2, 3, 4 times longer than you even think to start digging your way out of that hole. So don't even get in that hole to begin with. Just don't use personal credit to try to fund your business, because when you do, even if the business is successfully, you've got to get a lot of, or successfully, you got to get a lot of the money you're making from the business and put back in to the business to keep it running, to keep it growing, to keep it being successful. You might not have all that money immediately available to pay off all the debt you accumulated on the personal side. Also keep in mind that when you do this the right way, business credit is, the limits on business credit accounts are significantly higher than consumer credit. So the benefit here is that you can get credit limits at $10, $20, $30, $40, $50,000 where you can't even get $2,000 limits as a consumer. Okay, so business credit card limits are considerably higher. And another reason you want to rely more on business credit to build a business, even if it's a home-based business, than personal. Now, if you have an address set up the right way, and I'm going to show you a shortcut here using virtual addresses, you got to make sure that that's listed everywhere. And that's one of the problems, is that a lot of business owners set up their address after they set up their entity. So what I see them do is they go in, they set up an entity with their home-based business address, or the home address, the home phone number or cell phone number. Then they go get the phone number and address stuff later. But the problem is they forget to go back and change all the stuff that they set up initially. That's why I always recommend, when you set up a business, you make sure the name's available, you get the domain, then go get the phone number and the address, then set up the business everywhere. Then it's all congruent. If you don't follow the steps in that order, then what happens is your legal documents, your licensing, your marketing materials, your website, your social media channels, your insurance papers, your Yellow Page listing, your Google and Bing and all those listings, your Better Business Bureau listing, all that stuff's wrong. It all has the wrong information. So you got to do this initially to set up a virtual address, or the right address the right way in the beginning, then use that everywhere. But if you haven't done it that way and you do get a virtual address later, you've got to remember to go back and change all of these sources, or you're going to have real problems, because there's going to be incongruencies. They're going to get you denied for all different kinds of funding. So the longer you wait, the more places you're going to have to remember to change it, because not even places you've listed it. The longer your business is established online, the more Yellow Pages and other similar sources are picking up your business. This is why if your business has been open a year or 2 years and you make a change, you might have to use a service similar to Yext, Y-E-X-T, where you can change the information in one place and have it change everywhere online. Now, if you're getting value, do me a favor, hit the like button, hit the love button, let me know I'm on the right track. But you got to keep in mind that that is the thing with virtual addresses, that once you have an address and you change it to somewhere else, it creates all kinds of unnecessary issues, because you've got to change that address everywhere. So it's something to think about. A bank's not going to take the time to try to figure out all the different ways that your business is listed. And be honest with you, that probably is the most powerful statement I'm going to say today, maybe even this week, because it's so accurate. A bank is not going to take the time to try to figure out all the different ways your business is listed. So let me explain why business owners get turned down at the big banks. And by the way, 89% of applications at Bank of America, Wells Fargo, Chase, they're denied. 89%, nearly 9 out of 10 applications. Why? The number one reason is when they pull up your actual application, okay? They pull up your actual application, and they're looking at your business name, your address, your phone number, whatever information is on there. Then they go online and try to find your business just to verify the application that they have in hand is legitimate. Then they go to the Secretary of State, and the Secretary of State has the same business names. They pull it up, but the address is different. The phone number is different. What happens at this point is the bank can't verify that the company applying even really exists in the state that it's applying. It can't. Florida, here it is. Okay. Credit Suite Incorporated. We go to Secretary of State. Wait a minute. There is a Credit Suite Incorporated with the Secretary of State, but the address is different. The phone number is different. All this stuff is different. At this point, the lender doesn't do a deep dive to try to figure out what's going on. They immediately deny the application. In their mind, the business that's applying can't even be verified that it even exists with the Secretary of State. This is the number one reason applications are denied. How mind-blowing is that? You go in to submit for an SBA loan with a stack of papers like this: tax returns, bank statements, P&L statements, business plan, all this stuff. The very first thing they do is they take the application and they search the business, can't find it, and deny it. That's why business owners get denied. It's mind-blowing. So again, you got to make sure that this business information is listed everywhere exactly the same, or what happens is the lender can't verify it's you, that you're actually applying, and that it's a legitimate application, and it absolutely gets denied. Okay. And King says, can we talk after this? I'm interested in hiring your services. Absolutely, King. All you have to do is give us a ring, and I'll actually, I'm accessible, and I'll have my phone number at the end, my email at the end, and my phone numbers at the bottom of these slides as well. So a bank's not going to take the time to try to figure all that stuff out. What's going to happen is they're just going to red flag and deny the application. Okay. So how can you get a different address for a home? Well, stay away from PO boxes, stay away from UPS addresses. These are put into a separate database since the 80s that the government, lenders, credit issuers, everybody knows. Everybody can access that government database. Everybody knows that these aren't real addresses, that they're basically mailboxes. Okay. So a lot of creditors want you to have a physical address, and a solution is just a virtual address. Now, a virtual address, per Wikipedia, is part of a flexible workspace industry that provides businesses with any combination of services, space, or technology without those businesses bearing the capital expenses of owning or leasing a traditional office. So when you normally lease or rent an office, you spend thousands of dollars to rent a physical space. With a virtual address, you spend a couple $100 and you can use the address to that space. So for everybody else on the outside, it makes them look like you actually are renting an office at the top of a high-rise building in Tampa, Florida. But the reality is you're just renting a mail address there, not an actual physical address. Now, a couple differences. First of all, clear difference between renting the actual space. It's way cheaper. It's a couple $100 versus $2,000, $3,000, $4,000, $5,000, $10,000. Okay, but a clear difference between a PO box or UPS address is that these can't be recognized as separate mailboxes. They're not looked at as mailboxes. They're looked at you actually occupying the physical space without having to pay for the physical space. So virtual addresses are a great way to go. This is what solution we use and so many others do when working from home. It's less expensive. Alliance, DaVinci, Regus offer these kind of addresses. It gives you the perception of being in a high-rise building in Tampa, Florida, without the cost of actually doing so, and way better than UPS or PO box addresses. So something to think about. Plus, you can make it look like you're in a big major city, even if you're not, even if you're in the suburbs. Plus, you can use these addresses for conference rooms, for actual meeting space. You can use the offices in there. They will scan your mail and actually email it to you, then actually physically mail it to you. There are receptionists that can answer phone calls for you and your business as well. So again, a lot of other benefits outside of just using the address. Now, if you don't want, and you don't want to wait either, because again, it's tough. The longer time that you have an address out in cyberspace, the more places you have to change it and the more headache it is to actually change it. Now, legal considerations as well. You have to think about running a home-based business. You got to think about zoning. Some cities have regulations regarding foot traffic. Some have regulations using signs and signage that you have for advertising as well. Okay, your homeowners association, is that a problem? Is it, depending on what type of business you have? I don't have people coming in and out of here, right? I don't. So in my world, I can run a home-based business without people coming in and out. But if I'm a hairdresser, well, then I got people coming in and out all the time, and I got all kinds of issues. Am I allowed to have people parking on the street? How many people am I allowed to have in my parking or in my driveway? Am I allowed to be running a business out of my home per the HOA? Because if I have nosy neighbors, which I do, I have a nosy neighbor right there. Okay, if you have nosy neighbors, then you know what? They see everything that's going on. This guy beside me, like whenever I walk outside or my kids, like he walks outside. He's going to know what's going on. So if I got people coming in and out all day long, you can almost guarantee he's going to file a complaint with the HOA. So you have to think about that. Is that going to be a problem? Does your HOA allow a home-based business or does it not? So you have to think about these kind of legal considerations as well. Some cities limit the number of employees a home-based business can have. If it's actually set up and zoned as an actual residence, then you might not be able to use it for commercial purposes. You can't, and I see places even down here that are homes that they're using for commercial purposes. Well, depending on zoning and restrictions, you might not be allowed to do that. You might be able to have a bunch of employees working in what's an actual residential address or having people come in and out. So licensing, permits, are you set up the right way? These are things that you have to consider as well. It's considering tax issues. Well, you can deduct some expenses. There's others that you can't deduct. So you have to think about this as well. Legal consideration, tax considerations as well. Insurance needs to be considered. Do you need to have separate insurance? Are you having, again, people come in and out of your house? Well, if they get injured, that's not covered under your homeowners association or you're covered under your home insurance, homeowners insurance, if they're in there for business purposes. If you have employees in your house and they get injured, a regular homeowners policy is not going to probably cover that. If you have customers coming in and out, a homeowners policy is not going to cover that. So you need to have special kind of riders, special kind of insurance policies, things like that to be able to put in place as well to make sure that you're protected. Now, Karma says there's a difference between virtual office, a virtual office and a virtual address is basically exactly the same thing. A virtual address and a virtual office is the same thing. Some actual virtual address providers might call it things different. They might call a virtual office product as physically renting an office from them, and a virtual address is where you just physically rent the address. But a virtual address and office are fundamentally the exact same thing. But again, DaVinci might have like names that they call every different like tier of service they offer, but virtual addresses and office are basically the same thing, unless a virtual address provider like DaVinci says, no, our virtual office solution is where you rent an office, and our address solutions where you just get the address. But Fundamentally, they're the same unless the actual provider uses those to differentiate between different products they sell. Huge difference. My LLC has a virtual address. Banks still wanted my physical address and put them on my business checks. And again, the question is why did they need the physical address? If you could tell them that your virtual address is your physical address, and they shouldn't require that. Meaning if I go to my bank and I say, this is my address, and I give them my address, which is on Kennedy Boulevard in downtown Tampa, and they say, is this your mailing address? Is this your physical address? Say, yes. Yeah, it is. It is my physical address. They never ask a question. That's the address they put on the checks. But Karma, if they ask you that question, say, is this a physical address? And you say no, that's what creates a problem. They say, well, we're only going to put the physical address on the checks. And part of that's where they send the checks. They don't want to send the checks to somewhere where you're not going to be there to receive it. But again, if you tell your bank that that is one and the same, that the physical address is the mailing address, you shouldn't run into that problem. So hopefully that helps in the future. Okay, so sometimes the two are one and the same. Advantages and disadvantages of home-based business. What could be an advantage could also be a disadvantage as well. So you have to think about these type of things when you're actually setting up a home-based business. So working from home, advantages and disadvantages, right? It's harder to get funding, but it can also be easier if you set up your fundability the right way, structure the address the right way, set up the business website, the phone number, make sure all your records are congruent. Those kind of things are very important to helping you get funding. Okay. And again, part of that is to make sure you get the right kind of address. A real virtual address, if not a real retail location, is going to give you the best chance. Stay away from home-based business addresses. Stay away from PO box addresses, UPS addresses. That's going to help line you up to be able to get maximum funding. And again, I'm not an accountant. I'm not an attorney. This isn't legal or accounting advice, but you've got to think about these other things as well. The insurance, the tax ramifications, do you have permission to be there? Do you have people coming in and out? Do your HOA, do they approve? A lot of these type of things are considerations you have to think about when running a home-based business. And if you've done so, then I think you know most of the disadvantages or considerations to make sure that you take into account so you can actually run a home-based business successfully and structure and set it up where it's fundable, where you still can be able to get the money that you need. Now, if you got value from this, make sure you tune in and like and subscribe on our social channels. We go live Tuesday and Thursday at 1, 11 o'clock on Wednesday, and all of our training is about how to help you get money to start and grow your business. If you go to creditsuite.com, the top right of our page, we have daily tips that you're able to access on Facebook, on Twitter, and on Instagram as well. We have a podcast you can listen to on the go. And don't forget, you're entitled to a free consultation with us. So there is our phone number, and that's how to get me, 877-600-2487, 877-600-2487. When you give us a call or email info@creditsuite.com or schedule at creditsuite.com/consult, there's three things we do for you. First, we'll do a fundability assessment. Let us look at your fundability for you, figure out what's wrong and what you need to fix to have the best chance of getting the most money. We'll also help you get your business credit reports for free with Dun & Bradstreet, Equifax, Experian. We'll go over those with you and give you tips and tactics to improve your business credit scores. And we'll do a funding assessment. We'll see all the funding, loans, credit lines you can get right now. All that happens on a free consultation. So give us a call at 877-600-2487. Don't forget to like and subscribe. And I look forward to seeing you on our next training where we talk about more cool ways to get money to grow your business. Also, Karma says same thing. Merchant accounts did the same. Okay. So good to know. I appreciate the feedback. And yes, Mike, give us 877-600-2487. I have an entire team that can help. And if for some reason our team can't provide you the guidance that you need, then they will definitely connect you with me without an issue. And Karma says, I told them both, yes, my physical address, but they both said the address is already a business and shared offices don't qualify. Okay, so here's the question, Karma. What you want to figure out, who did you set up the virtual address with? Because sometimes you have addresses like iPostal, where it might look like a virtual address and not. But again, usually, I'd like to know how they actually figured out or how they determined that is a shared space. So at some point, reach out to us even through email, info@creditsuite.com. Give us some feedback on your experience because that helps us help other people. Okay, everything digital now. Very true. Okay, Karma, there we go. Okay, so Karma, let me explain the problem here. You didn't use a virtual address. You used a PO box or UPS address, type address. That's the issue. And that's what I just said is when you described this problem you're having, and you said, look, I did this. I got a virtual address. Then I gave them the virtual address and they said it wouldn't work. And I said, that's weird. That doesn't make sense because they shouldn't be able to recognize it's a virtual address. But remember, I told you that PO boxes and UPS addresses were held in a separate database that they know. Well, that's what you did. iPostal is not a virtual address. iPostal is a mailbox. It's just like UPS store. And that's why it's so cheap. So what happens is you use that. They went to that database. They found that you're using a mail address, and that's why they made you require a physical address or a real address. If you would use an actual virtual address, DaVinci, Alliance, again, you wouldn't have that problem. DaVinci, Alliance, and Regus, you would not have had that problem. The reason you had the problem is an exact example of why you can't use PO boxes and UPS addresses. So for everybody watching here, what's happening at Karma just described, and this is a real world scenario. So let me go through this, okay? So what Karma is saying here is, look, I went in, I tried to set up my bank account, and as well as that, it wasn't just your bank account, it was something else that you had a problem with as well, okay? So she came in and went to her bank and said, here's my address. And they said, no, that's a shared address. You can't use it. What's your physical address? And then she had to give them her home address. Well, the reason that happened is because she got an address through iPostal, which is not a virtual address. It's an actual mailbox address like UPS. So her story explains the problem with using UPS and PO box addresses. You have to stay away from them. There's a lot of places that, like iPostal, that make themselves out to be a virtual address. They're not. They're all mailboxes like UPS. The only three real reliable sources for virtual addresses are DaVinci, Alliance, and Regus. Alliance is the best one we found. If you use Alliance, you don't have these problems, but DaVinci and Regus are also good as well. So some things to keep in mind. Thank you, Karma, for sharing. Great learning experience for all of us. And Vic says, can I build business credit with a marketing company? You can build business credit with any kind of company. Any kind of business credit can. If you want our free guide, go to creditsuite.com/EIN. Creditsuite.com/EIN will give you the actual step-by-step process to build business credit. And Tanya says, what if your bank does not allow virtual addresses? They shouldn't recognize that it is a virtual address. So I've had this happen so many times, and so many people say this. So I get it from Dun & Bradstreet. Dun & Bradstreet won't accept the virtual address. Yeah, they will. They absolutely will. As a matter of fact, their website even has training on why you should use a virtual address. But if you try to use an iPostal address through Dun & Bradstreet, they will flag it and not let you do it. So in any of these cases where somebody said, I can't get a virtual address through Dun & Bradstreet, it wasn't a virtual address they were using. It was a mailbox like iPostal that they thought was a virtual address. So your bank, Dun & Bradstreet, they shouldn't even be able to recognize a true virtual address from a real physical location or from a regular office if you're using DaVinci, Alliance, and Regus. Opus Virtual Office, I don't know anything about it. Hey, Victor. And this is why I say there's three we vetted that are credible. A lot of the others make themselves out to be virtual addresses when they're really just postal boxes. I don't know anything about Opus. I wish I could help you there. And Bridget, Bridget, you came. Oh, I use iPostal. It's a physical address. If you pull up the address, yes, iPostal is a UPS address, type address. It's not a virtual address. So I cannot try to explain this enough. There are two very different types of addresses. There are mailboxes, iPostal, UPS store, PO boxes. These are mailbox addresses. These all sit in a database where all lenders and credit issuers know that they're mailboxes. They know it. The minute they plug the address into their computer tells them the type of address it is. And it immediately tells them it's a mailbox. Then there's a real virtual address. When a virtual address is plugged into their computer says, this is a real office location. This is a real business address. So their computers can't tell between virtual addresses and real business addresses because virtual addresses are real business addresses. They are actual real business addresses used for real business locations. But if you're in this other bucket, all kinds of red flags get triggered. And a lot of you are talking about these problems. I have all these kind of problems as a result. So I have iPostal and Leighton says it best. I have iPostal. Is it BS? Yeah, it is. It's UPS. iPostal is the same as a UPS address. You're in this database that they see as a mail address. It's not a real virtual address. So let me explain why I see this a lot. People go to DaVinci, they go to Regus, they go to Alliance, the three real reliable sources. Then it's not cheap. It's like $200 a month for a virtual address in some cases. So people are like, yeah, that's too expensive. Let me find a cheaper alternative. Then they come out here with Opus virtual address, iPostal, whatever these other sources are. And they say, oh, it's only $20 a month. It's $50 a month. That's the better way. Well, it's a reason it's $20 a month or $50. It's just a UPS type address. It's a mailbox address. And then all these problems happen. Your bank account won't use it. Or Dun & Bradstreet won't use it. Lenders won't use it. Credit issuers won't use it because it's a mail address. So clear difference between an actual mail address like a UPS store and iPostal and a real virtual address. The difference is that lenders and credit issuers and banks, they can't tell a real virtual address from any other place that you'd rent. They can tell iPostal, UPS addresses, etc. So hopefully that provides you some access or some information. Now, Bridget says, I have iPostal. It's a physical address. If you pull up the address, it is. But again, it's a mail address. That's the way it's going to be perceived. And Sinceroson says, I have a UPS address, but not P.O. Box, but will look into virtual addresses. Yeah, and it is a problem if you're using a virtual address. Yes, iPostal advertises virtual. Karma, yeah, you're right. That's the problem. Is that, again, DaVinci Alliance and Regis are the only 3 real virtual addresses I've ever found. The rest of them all make themselves out to be a virtual address when they're really not. It's not you. Nobody here is making mistakes. They're misrepresenting their product. And I see a lot of people get caught in this trap. And so Leighton says, well, how do I fix it? Well, you get a real virtual address. You go to DaVinci, Alliance, or Regis. You can go to creditsuite.com/virtual. That gives you a discount link for Alliance that can help you. But you go to DaVinci, Alliance, or Regis. Set up a virtual address, then change everything you have. Make sure that new address is your permanent address. That is what you use everywhere. Change your social media channels, change your website, change your licenses, your EIN documents, your Secretary of State records, change your LinkedIn profile, go to Yext. See if it's listed in Yellow Pages, change there's cheaper services than Yext, but something similar that changes it everywhere online, every single place, offline, your bank account, offline, online, everywhere that you know that address is listed. That is exactly where you want to change it, everywhere you can, and that's going to help you fix the problem. And Vic says, iPostal isn't a real virtual address. Yes, that's the point. And Himley says, hello, a couple weeks ago I changed rent a virtual office. I already did that in the Secretary of State too. I have a domain in Google and already updated the information there. However, there are about 7 places in Google that show my home address as a business. I've already written them emails to change it, and they have not done so. Do you know how I can do it to set the updates in all the Google places? I use a service called Yext, Y-E-X-T. Yext is expensive, but there's a lot of other similar solutions. What Yext does is I can change all my information in Yext, and they literally go to hundreds of Yellow Pages and other places, and they list everywhere they do this. They update it for me in all those places. So that's how I do it. Now, what you did isn't bad. Try to get with them directly. If you're listed somewhere online, you can usually update your own listing if you claim that listing to be yours. So you can go that route you're going. But my advice is to use a Yext type service to update it once, where it updates it everywhere. And Karma says, I really wish I did this earlier. That's okay. Look, here's the good news. You know it now. Most business owners, 9 out of 10 I talk to, set up their business the wrong way. I'm one of the 9. Like I did the same thing in the beginning. I learned the hard way. But the good news is that now you're here. You learned. Now you can go update it, and all of a sudden, bank accounts, merchant accounts, loans, credit lines, credit cards, all the stuff you might have been struggling to get, all of a sudden it becomes way easier. Okay. And that's like what happened when I found LexisNexis. We started to have all these problems. And then we figured out LexisNexis was the root of where all these lenders were getting their information from. We updated LexisNexis, and it was like a switch turned on, and everything was difficult became easy. I'm like, wow, that was awesome. We just fixed stuff in one place, and our whole life became easier. Merchant accounts we can get with no problem, get relationships with the credit bureaus, all this stuff that we had problems with got fixed. So it's the same thing, Carmen. It's okay. You know now. So update it, fix it, and then all these loans, merchant accounts, bank accounts, credit cards, all that stuff becomes way easier in the future. So it's good that you learn it now so you can still get the money that you need to be able to grow the business. So Bridget says, well, I need to change my address. A lot of people on here, I think, do. Layton says, what should I do about this? Because I'm using it now on all my paperwork. You update all the paperwork. Update it everywhere. This is why I explain that one of the things you have to keep in mind is it is a flipping nightmare to update your address because it's listed everywhere. But you only have to do this one time. Once you get the address fixed, you have the right address, you go and update everything. It's time consuming. but then you're good. Your chances of getting money are significantly better. You're significantly more fundable. And A. Victor says, please look into them. They're pretty good and knock out 4 of the 10 requirements for funding that you mentioned: business address, business phone number. I will, but again, the problem I think you're going to run into with Opus is more than likely they are a P.O. Box mail address. They're not an actual virtual address. And here's how you know. Do they have real locations you can go into and rent office space from them? If you go to Opus, if you want to know if they're a real virtual address or not, can you rent office space from them? If you can't, then that's a good indicator that they are just a mail address, which I honestly think that they are. Okay. And Leighton says, I may have put down my registry address as mailing address, things to look into. Mike says, I don't make that mistake since I listened to you. Hello, thanks. Forget it. Got with Alliance yesterday. Alliance is really good. Leighton says, I'm just trying to get this business started so I can get funding to buy a food trailer. I love that idea, by the way, and especially if it's delicious food. I want some of that. But I'm telling you this because it's okay. You're here to learn the basics of fundability so you can get it fixed, then open up the doors for funding. Guys, there are people in business I talk to that have $10 million in sales before they realize this stuff. Then they start getting credit lines pulled, get denied for all kinds of financing, and it's a nightmare for them. So get the stuff fixed now so your path to getting funding is significantly easier in the future as well. Leighton says, I'm about to pay Credit Suite to do everything. I'm tired of this. Well, look, we can help you through that process. But the way I like to explain it is there's 2 paths with us. There's our free path. There's all kinds of training. We have a youtube.com/Credit Suite that can help you all with fundability. You don't have to pay us money for the help. We put the help out there for free. If you want our help to get it done better, faster, easier, well, then feel free to give us a call. You get that free consultation, and we'll do a fundability assessment with you to see what's wrong and what needs to actually be fixed. And Vic says, anyone having issues with funding, hire Ty. He's the best. I appreciate that very much. And Johnny says, does your company set up everything you need to build credit for a business? We help you set it up. So we tried at one point to do it for everybody, but then we couldn't get in touch with people. They'd hire us money and give us a bunch of, or hire us, give us a bunch of money. Then we couldn't get in touch with them. And we got to communicate with you to help you through the process. But our advisors would literally sit on the call with you for an hour and help you through every aspect of this process to get it done the right way. But just start by figuring out what's wrong. Give us a call at 877-600-2487 or schedule a consult online at creditsuite.com/consult. And that'll help you get with our team to figure out what's wrong and what actually may need to be fixed. And Karma says, I loved your Funding 30 Challenge. Thanks, Karma. Just so you know, if you go to funding30challenge.com, that's funding30challenge.com, July 15th is our next funding challenge. And it's 100% free, no cost. We had thousands of people in our last funding challenge. We had tons of people get a lot of money. So if you're interested in getting money for your business, this is a good plug for this. July 15th, we're having a Funding 30 Challenge. We bring in over 20 different funding sources, over 30 funding products we talk about. We talk about the product. You connect with the funding source and get money. It's the first time it's ever been done before. We did it this summer. It was a massive hit. So we did it this spring. And it was a massive hit. So we're doing it again July 15th. And so for real says, where do I get funding for a new business? I just did training on this yesterday. I look at our YouTube channel for that training that took place yesterday. But there's a lot of places you can get money for a new business. Building business credit, grants. You can go to grants.gov, Grant Watch to get grants, crowdfunding if you have the right product. We've got a great product called Credit Line Hybrid where you can get up to $150,000 in credit lines. You can give us a call. We could talk to you more about that. Brand new business, $150,000 in credit lines. Then there's a lot of funding depending on assets you may have. So maybe you have equipment, inventory, real estate, vehicles. Most assets you have could be used as collateral to get funding as well. Stocks, bonds, 401ks, or IRAs. So if you just want to see the best ways to get money for a startup, those are some of them. I told you where you can get more training, youtube.com/Credit Suite, or give us a call. We could just do a funding assessment for you as well. And Mike says, Ty, I have a deal. I'm looking at building 18 rental units, need to hire a GC, but are you guys able to put deals like that together? Yeah, I mean, the general contractor part of it isn't our thing, but we help people get business funding for real estate all the time. It's something we could definitely help with. And Leighton says, just when you think you have everything right, boom. Well, that's, again, the fact that you're here learning and then applying it goes a long way. And Karma says, yes, I was on the first one in March. Great. And Karma says, Credit Line Hybrid was my favorite product. Me too. It's still my favorite product, but there's some new credit lines and things that have rolled out this year that you all should know about. We're going to be covering that in the Funding 30 Challenge. I don't know if registration's open for it yet, but keep an eye out for it, funding30challenge.com. So I'm going to wrap up. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for your questions. Thanks for your engagement. Thanks for your feedback. This helps us all help each other. And I want you to know what just happened here. By Karma coming in and opening up a can of worms, we were all able to talk through problems. And a lot of people said, I have that problem. I have that problem. I have that problem. And together as a community, we were able to get solutions to a lot of these problems. That's why I love coming on here live with you and getting a chance for you to engage, participate, and us work together to help each other. So I really appreciate that. Make sure you look out for funding30challenge.com. Don't forget to give us a call for your free consultation. We'll do that fundability assessment for you. Get your business credit report. They're $250 for free. Go over them with you. Do a funding qualification, all by giving us a call at 877-600-2487. Thanks for tuning in. I look forward to seeing you on our next training where we talk about more cool ways to grow your business. Have a great and powerful day. Thanks.